Hello again, this is Jeff Erdman with Erdman Door and Specialty, E.D.S. Inc., Shandon. And today we're going to continue with our project of making the trolley system for our little dumbwaiter or lift, whatever you want to call it. Today what we have to do is we have to apply the brackets that will be kind of a floating bracket on each one of the trolley systems that will hold the carriage. And so what we're going to start with here is actually cutting some angle iron. I've got some angle iron here that's about it's 4x4 or 5x5. It looks like 4 inch by 4 inch angle iron. And we're going to fastened to the side of the trolley system with some shoulder bolts. We've got some 3/4 inch shoulder bolts that we're going to put in there, and these brackets will actually float back and forth. And the reason for this is we want the carriage to be able to move back and forth as it rides up and down. In case there's any variance, bending, or any of that in the post, it can flex for that. And so that's the idea behind it. Rather than having a rigid thing that's tied to the trolleys that wouldn't move, that might cause some binding as it goes up and down, we want to have a system that can kind of free float and thus avoid any binding on the system. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece of angle iron and we're going to cut it down to length. I've already got it set up in the saw. It's clamped to the saw now. Well, I've got my 2 clamps and clamp it actually, and then we'll begin the process of cutting it. And I'll show you a little bit about my dual bandsaw here, and then we'll get going. What we have here, we'll get her started. Well, first of all, I'm going to clamp the angle iron onto the table so that I'm sorry I cut my head off, but the camera's pretty close to where I'm at. We're going to clamp the iron to the table, and then we'll turn on the machine and I'll show you some of the controls. I've got it square on this, and so I'm going to, I've got it I've got it lined up with the straight edge on the machine. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to turn on the machine, and I'll bring you in a little bit closer here to see some of the controls. So right here is our speed dial. This is our speed dial indicator, and it tells us how fast the blade is going to be going. We'll probably take it up to probably close to 200 for the cut that we're going to do. This dial over here, this is the table pressure, and so that controls the pressure of the feed on the table bed because the table automatically feeds. This dial over here lets me know the pressure on the blade itself, the tension pressure that I have set up. This down here is my on-off switch, so we're going to go ahead and turn this on. We'll make a whole bunch of noise here. So you can see that the dial indicator is up here. I don't know if you can see that, but that's 200 there. So it's just about the speed that I'm going to want to make this cut. The blade is moving now. As you can see, it's moving on the table. Now the next thing that I have to do is with this, the table feed, I have to adjust it to an appropriate feed. What I'll do to start with is I'll right here, this is the major turn, and this is for fine tuning here. This is to dial things into the exact speed you want. And I don't know if you can see the indications, but excuse me, it gives the indication of how fast the table feeds by inches. So it's 1 inch per minute, 2 inches per minute, 3 inches per minute, 4 inches, so on and so forth. And then it has a speed you can adjust forward to fast, hasten, rapid traverse. So what we're going to do is we're going to move this table on up to the blade so that the middle is right there with at the face of the blade. And then we'll set the traverse. That went a little bit fast. Okay. Now I'm going to set the traverse at about 1 inch. My speed is going up, so I'm going to have to slow that down some. Take it back down a little bit. There we go. And we're traversing. What I'll do is get a little bit of oil on the blade. There she goes. Start to cut. Come through. Now I'm going to speed up the traverse a little bit. It can go through this line metal a little bit faster. There we go. We've got a cut. Now I'll take this and unclamp the other part here. I'm going to bring the table back away from the blade. Take it back. And that's our cut. So this is the piece here that we're going to use. This piece of angle iron here. And what we'll do is we'll be drilling some holes in this face for those 3/4 inch shoulder bolts to go through. And then we'll be tapping them into the other bracket. So I'll cut off now and we'll go over to our drill. Okay, this is Jeff here again, and we're back to it. We've got the angle iron clamp to the trolley systems. So you notice that I have this laid up so that I have a right and a left, because these have to be facing each other on the same side. So this is the top of the unit on each of them. This is the bottom of the unit on each of them. And so we have to position these just perfect. And the reason for that, and of course it's not that perfect, it's not like we're milling something, but right here, this is where our wheel goes. This hole right here, if you can see that, I'm not sure, but this, where we put our bolt, has to be above that wheel, and above far enough so that we the bolt on the other side does not rub against the wheel or cause any problem. So we have right now, from this line to the wheel, we have 2.5 inches. Our wheel has a 4-inch diameter, so that means it's going to be from the center line of that hole, this direction, 2 inches. That gives us about a 1/2 inch of play. So we shouldn't have any problems with the bolt interfering with the wheels and the trolleys. Now on the opposite side, we have a hole here that a bolt runs through to hold the backside plate on. And so we needed to have that low enough so that that did not interfere with that bolt. So those were a couple of considerations. It's not an exact science, but we got these laid out so that we can go ahead and drill them and tap that and put the shoulder bolts into them, and so that they won't interfere with the wheels or with the fasteners that we need to put on there to hold the back plate on. So let's go ahead and we'll get to it. I'm going to have to go fetch ourselves some drill bits, and then we'll come back to you. Well, we're going to go ahead and drill this first hole. You won't really be able to see it because of the position of this bracket. So I'll probably drill this first hole and then we'll cut out and I'll get them all drilled and come back to you. There won't be much to see, kind of boring to watch all this thing. But hopefully you're enjoying the content of this, kind of being inventive here. These systems I've kind of designed myself as I go along. I've thought it through and kind of developed what I thought would work, and we'll see if it does when I'm all done. And now we're going to go ahead and we'll drill these things. I'm going to go grab a block to put in that so it doesn't compress. There we go. Okay, let's get started again. Sorry about that delay there. What we'll do is we'll drill through to the back plate, and this will just kind of dimple that. And that'll be my mark for, that'll be the mark for the bolt. The other bit will be a little bit smaller to accommodate the 5/8 tap. The hole I'm drilling right now is 3/4 to allow for the shoulder bolt. There we go. Well, you get to see what I'm doing here. Okay. That's not where I'm going to have to drill this one. There we go. Okay, well that gets our holes done for us. So what I'll do is we'll take a break from here, and we'll come back when I get the other one drilled and we're ready to tap. So I've drilled the holes, I've tapped the holes, and I've cleaned these holes out a little bit, and now it's time to see whether our shoulder bolts fit or not. I don't know if you can see this well enough, but this is a 3/4 inch shoulder bolt, 3/4 by 3/4, and it's got a 5/8 11 thread on it. And so that's what I tapped that plate out to. And so what we're going to do, if I drilled all these in the proper place, the way they're supposed to go, then there shouldn't be any tension after I put these bolts on. They should all go all the way down and seat against the 1/4 inch plate. And then this plate should be able to float up and down so that as we're lifting things, it can move back and forth between the two trolleys in case there's any bind or flex in the standards. That one went down nice. Three for three so far, and our last one. Okay, now what that'll allow this to do is float back and forth. And when I go and put my carriage on this, I'll probably shim this out away from the main plate there, about 1/4 inch on both sides, so then it can play back and forth as it needs to, going up and down the standards. And so anyway, in theory, that's what I'm up to. Now I didn't really trust this 1/4 inch plate to hold these bolts. So what I did, I went and got myself some lock nuts here. And so we're going to use the lock nuts on these on the back side. And that'll just give me some extra insurance. I've got this 1/4 inch steel plate tapped. I'll put these lock nuts on there so that they don't come off. And then that should be a pretty sturdy installation, being 3/4 inch diameter. It should support this bracket, which will support the carriage and any weight we put onto it. My hoist is up to, I think it's 2 tons. So I don't think we'll be putting that much on it. We're going to put probably up to maybe 500–600 pounds on the thing, and this should more than take care of that. Even if we put 1,000 pounds on the stinking thing, I don't think that would overload it the way that I've built this and designed it. So you might wonder, where did I come up with these designs? Well, you know, like a lot of things, people have a problem that they need to resolve, and I saw a problem that we had. We've had accidents where people fall carrying boxes up and down stairs, and we wanted to move our stock room up above the offices so we have more floor room in the shop. And so to alleviate the carrying of stuff up and down stairs, we went and we're building this unit so that it'll actually lift the stuff up and down. We also have a gate up there so we can actually forklift pallets up there if we need to. For bigger stuff, right now I've got doors and frames stacked up back there, and they're up on that area. They'll be coming down sooner or later. We're going to we're renting another unit down the way here, and we'll be storing all that in there. So how did I come up with the design? Well, you got a problem, you think about the problem, how can you resolve the problem? And that's basically how I came up with the design. I usually go to sleep with the problem. I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking, hey, that might be a solution. And over the days and months, I start formulating a thought and how to do it. And pretty soon I'm putting it together. Now sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's what happens when you're a little bit inventive, I suppose. And so that's what I'm doing. I didn't follow any other person's pattern that I know of. I think these are unique. They're a unit that's pretty much made totally in my head. So unless somebody else has same sort of thinking, I think they're one of a kind. So they're really heavily built. That's kind of the way I think. I think big and heavy. And I'm not an engineer. And I think I've mentioned before, I didn't even...
Yes, get over that!
So anyway, that's how I came up with this design. Yeah, that might be, you might say, well, you don't have to build it so heavy. Yeah, that's true. Maybe I didn't have to build it so heavy. But like I said, this is the way I am, this is the way I think. And so that's the way I put it together. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to make anything that's beautiful here. I'm just trying to make it functional. And so it is not a pretty thing. But as long as it works when I'm all done, I'll be just tickled pink. So that's yet to be seen. We'll see what happens come the next month or so as I put this together in my spare time. So if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I'd deeply appreciate that. And if you like what the content is, then you can give me a thumbs up. And until next time, I'm probably going to do the rest of this off camera, get it all ready to set the carriage on it, and I'll probably bring you back when I'm building the carriage or when I'm installing the carriage. And then I still have to rebuild that hoist so that it works properly. I bought that used, and it needs a new chain on it and needs to be wired up. So we'll probably have a little segment on rebuilding the hoist and getting it ready to function. And once we get to that point, then we'll be lifting stuff. So anyway, stay tuned. Hopefully you'll get to see the completion of this, and after that we've got quite a few other things that we're going to be doing. Like I said, we'll be building some stairs. I don't know if I'll tape that or not, down from our storage area down to the main floor. We've got several machines that we're working on and rebuilding or cleaning up to get ready to work on. Projects coming up, and I'll be getting some more machines in. I prefer buying older stuff that I can work on, that I understand. I ended up buying a CNC, a vertical mill, and looked at the books, looked at the math, and said, this is a little bit beyond me. Someday I might do it, but right now it's a little bit beyond my thinking. And I basically learn things as I need to, and I figured since I have a So thank you much for watching. Appreciate it.